All right. So I'll go ahead and start recording. That's another thing I like about Zoom is you can record as well.
That is
Um,
awesome.
yeah. Uh-huh. Um, so we're talking about, the meta theory, or the theory alongside the theory, that from an imago perspective, we're coming at things from the relational paradigm and from the idea of connection and separation. And that's like the big issue in life, connection and separation. Um, and so like the couples that you were talking about before, Jill, um, they're dealing with how do I feel safely connected? And many people either feel pain inside that sense of being connected, or they feel pain by not feeling connected. And that's what we've talked about, from childhood. We're either wounded by having a sense of painful connection, feeling smothered or enmeshed or controlled or dominated, depending on what level of development stage that we're at. Smothering is kind of a attachment stage wounding, where dominating is more of a competency stage kind of wounding or being controlled. So that's pain from too much connection. Or we feel that we have the opposite experience of not enough connection. And again, in the attachment stage, the experience is abandonment. In the competency stage, we talk about the experience being feeling manipulated. So either feeling dominated or feeling manipulated, feeling smothered or feeling abandoned, comes from either feeling pain in the connection or pain by not having enough connection. And that's really kind of the essential experience that our partners are coming in with. Typically, one partner has this pain and the other partner has this pain. So typically, one partner feels the pain of being smothered, the other partner feels the pain of being abandoned. And because they react to those pains, they duplicate each other's childhood experiences. So the partner who feels smothered will try to get away from the smothering, which will cause the partner who feels abandoned to feel abandoned again in adulthood. And the partner who feels abandoned will try to deal with that feeling by really latching on and hooking on to the partner whose pain is feeling smothered, which will re-trigger that pain as well. So when we look at this diagram here, there's actually two energies that we have that kind of drive life. And the first is this energy called Eros. And Eros is what it actually means in Greek is full aliveness. In more modern times, it's become kind of delineated to mean the erotic, and that's been narrowed down to the sexual. But Eros itself is much more about that push to full aliveness. And so Eros is an energy for full aliveness that we're all born with, and we find that full aliveness in connection. The other energy that we deal with is called Thanatos. Thanatos energy. And do either of you know the meaning of the word thanatos? It's a Greek word, just like eros is Greek.
Like death.
Death, yes. Yeah. So there's a strong energy to avoid the death energy. There's also a strong energy to have the sense of life force. So here's this one energy that pushes, and what it focuses on is avoiding death. And there's another energy that comes in, and what it focuses on is trying to have life in abundance. What happens in our experience between these two energies is the energy to avoid death kind of swallows up the energy to have full aliveness, and that becomes our normal routine. So in what this energy does that helps us to try to avoid death is it causes us to become less than we are. And the way it does that is, this is me right here, myself, and this is my partner over here, herself. But in this self, there's not a whole me. There's only the projection of myself. That self that I identify myself to be. So I might identify myself as I'm left-handed. That's an identity that I carry with myself. I'm bohemian, and so that has a sense of identity with it. Parts of myself that I don't identify, unconsciously, they get split off. And so what I do to avoid death is knowing becomes extremely important. And so I create these boxes of knowing. And in these boxes, I put the entire world, the entire universe into these boxes. This first box might be me. This other box might be my first grade teacher. Whatever my experience is, I label it and I qualify it. This is a good box. This box is safe. I'm okay with this box. This box is a bad box. This box is dangerous. So avoid this box with all cost. Okay? So one of the very natural things, and we're actually taught to, with scientific investigation, and we're actually taught that Adam and Eve was given the assignment to name things, to quantify everything, and to put them into boxes. We have a box here, most of us have a box for God. And whatever my description of God is my view of God. You may have a completely different view. But when we begin to name and dissect and to capture what we think something is, what we do is we begin to limit what that something is. And so in my projections and in my partner's projections, we put each other into boxes. And by putting each other into boxes, we begin to make each other less than they are. So what we do, yeah, go ahead, Mary. Okay, go ahead.
I gotcha. What does the P, R, and the S stand for in your diagram?
That's self.
And
and
Projection.
projection.
Okay.
And the self is not a whole me. It's only the parts that I claim of me. So by putting things into boxes, I claim certain parts of me and I deny other parts of me. And as I'm putting things into boxes, then instead of interacting with others, I'm actually projecting my experience of others, and I'm interacting with projections of others rather than the person themselves. And I do this to create a sense of I'm safe by doing this. So this is what prejudice is. And I'll use you, Jill. I see that you have red hair. And so automatically I put you into a box that all red-headed females are XYZ. And whether that's true or not of you, it doesn't matter, because in my world, it is true. You know, all people wearing a hamaka thing, you know, the little round hat for Jews, they all are exactly the same in my box. So what happens is we limit and create a monological world or a symbiotic world. So I don't get to know Becky in the honeymoon stage. I get to know my symbiotic projection of Becky. And she doesn't get to know me, but she gets to know her projection of who I am. And you'll have those couples sitting in your office, and one partner will say he's XYZ, and he'll argue to, you know, to death. I am not at all like XYZ. Well, they're probably both wrong. But so what happens is, in order to know, in order to avoid death, we begin to put these people in boxes. We begin to become very symbiotic. We use judgments and conclusions and master talk. And by doing all of this to avoid death, the biggest thing that we want to really get is that we all become less than human. We become fragmentations of who we are. And what all this does is it breaks down the infinite into little fragments, little pieces. And this is Thanatos energy. This is the energy to avoid death.
So Tony?
Yeah.
It's a little confusing because the way you're using Thanatos is opposite how I've always understood it.
Okay, how have you always understood it?
The death instinct, that Thanatos is actually a movement towards death, like an urge towards death and dying, rather than the eros, which is a life instinct, or, you know, fully alive instinct, movement towards life.
Yeah,
you know,
so we have that. Yeah, we have that energy of moving towards death, and what we do, you know, with that primitive brain is do whatever we can to avoid that. So it's a reaction to that Thanatos energy that we're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
That might be a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Now, this, by the way, is also the life of routine. Routine is an important way to know that I'm going to be safe, and it's also, you know, some things that we need. when we look at this, all of this whole projection and self and putting things into boxes is an illusion that is experienced as the reality. So the illusion that I know you, I experience that as reality. And you know, you have those clients who say, well, I'm Irish, and Irish just drink a lot and get mad. That's just who I am. And trying to convince them that that's not who they are, but a story that they've adopted about themselves. You're asking them to let go of what they believe the reality is. And they need that reality to be able to feel safe. Okay? And in feeling safe, they begin limiting and fragmenting who they really are. Now, there's another field of possibility as we look at this diagram. Up here, there's a place of infinite possibility. Up here is where there's an I and an other. But up here, I don't know the other, and I don't know the I. What I am doing is I'm getting to know the I as I'm getting to know the other. Here, we let go of the boxes of knowing and step into that place of not knowing. And if we can step into the place of not knowing, we can also step into the place of possibility and to the place of wonder and curiosity. This place up here is the place that poets talk about. It's the place that in their purest forms, all modern religions talk about. What many people have done is they've taken a particular religion and filled it full, put it into boxes, and instead of celebrating the not knowing, they give religion certainty. And then they make that religion less than what it is. When I can move to the place of not knowing, then I can get to the place of discovery, to the place of exhilaration, to the place of passion and full aliveness. And yet it feels terribly frightening to move into this place. So like your client, Jill, not knowing what it would be like not to have the mistress there is extremely frightening for him. And for his partner, not knowing if she can survive without him there seems to be extremely frightening to her. That she cannot set, you know, that this is unacceptable. By the way, the same is probably true for the mistress. not knowing what it would be like for him not to be there is extremely frightening. So what we want to say then is, or what I already said was that this down here is the illusion that is experienced as a reality. Up here is the reality that is experienced as an illusion. So the idea that I could move into this place of infinite possibility with wonder and curiosity, the idea that I am just as safe not knowing as I am by knowing, feels wonderful to most people. Oh yeah, I would love to have that kind of life but it doesn't feel possible. It feels like an illusion. But it actually, from an imago perspective, it is the reality of life. That all of these boxes down here are designed to keep us feeling safe. It gives us the illusion that we're safe. The boxes don't make us safe, but it gives us the illusion that we're safe. So now, if I can put guns on teachers, our kids will be safe. Or if I can create laws banning all guns, our kids will be safe. Those are boxes, and they're illusions. I can ban all guns and our kids can get hit by a tornado tomorrow and the whole school will get wiped out. Does that make sense? So there are things that we can do that can make us more safe, but they don't create safety. So we have this band between the two here that says, from an imago perspective, this is reality, and it is important to put some things into boxes. So for me to say, if there's a crocodile in the water, I'm not going to swim in that water. I might be missing out the experience of swimming in the water, but that's okay. Because I do know crocodiles might be hungry at noon and I might be dinner. Other people won't have that box and they'll go swim with the crocodiles and wrestle with them and everything else. But I need that box for my comfort. So what I want you to get is that boxes, there is a place for boxes. Playing on Interstate 70 is not a good idea. Playing on the roof when you're 3 years old and you don't have enough experience to know how dangerous it is not a good idea. Does that make sense? So there are places for boxes, but what happens with our couples and what happens with most people is this becomes almost their reality in totality. And this field of infinite possibility becomes something that at best we can have maybe someday after we die and we go to a better place. And so it's experienced as an illusion. What we're helping people discover is that moving to this place of not knowing is letting go of a lot of boxes and being able to rediscover that possibility that we once had. You see, when we're born, we still need to develop, but we're not born with all these boxes. We're born with that exhilaration and that willingness to explore and discover. But over time, each time we have a little pain, depending on how we react to that pain, we build another box. And what we do as imago therapists is help people start deconstructing all the boxes that they've built. And the way to do that is by introducing them to this field of possibility. So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So just to summarize, this is reality experienced as an illusion. This is an illusion experienced as reality. The way in Imago that we help people discover this possibility here is through the dialogue. It's through some things that we've already talked about, like re-imaging. I want to take your partner out of this box that you've got them in, and let's see them as that 6-year-old little girl. I want you to take yourself out of the box and picture in your own mind that 6-year-old little girl. We open the field of possibility by restructuring frustrations. So in the box down here, it says, don't ask for what you need because you might not get it, and that'll be more painful. So we begin inviting them to restructure, and instead of just complaining and expressing frustrations, making expressions of desire. We work with resolving anger and helping them to see that anger is just simply a reaction to something deeper going on, a deeper sense of hurt or pain. We help them to move into this field of possibility through those processes of re-romanticizing, having dialogues about date nights, about surprises, about the 5 love languages, all of those kinds of things that reintroduce the possibilities. And then the 5th thing that we do is the revisioning. And so helping couples to develop a shared relationship vision is another way of bringing them to that field of possibility. And so in that very first session, what am I doing that helps you to feel a little bit of whatever it was that they wanted to feel? Is that a good catch? What am I doing that helps you to feel that? We're opening up the field of possibility for them. And what am I doing that helps me to feel whatever it is that I'm longing to feel? So Imago is much more. It's not a practice of pathology. It's not a practice of identifying what's wrong, but helping people to discover what the possibilities are. So it really is a very positive approach, psychology, even though it's not a psychology at all. We've talked about that. But it's not about pathology. It's about rediscovering the possibilities. And also finding the balance, because routine is important. Having some boxes is important. But what tends to happen in the honeymoon stage, we have this experience of gosh, you and I together, we can slay giants. we're everything we need. So we have this brief moment of experience of something similar to that. Then as time goes on, we get into our routines and we begin moving back into this Thanatos reaction to this Thanatos energy. And this becomes the dominant. And so when you talk to couples who have been together for any length of time, they're not dating, they're not doing exciting things, they're not doing adventurous things, but they are, you know, life happens, we say. They're stuck in a routine. They're working with their kids, they're working with, you know, all those kind of things. And some routine is important. But what we want to do is help them find a better balance between things that produce this eros energy and things that are reacting to the Thanatos energy. So reintroducing date night, reintroducing exciting, fun things is what we're doing here, as well as just working through the issues. So I'll stop there, just kind of pause. One other thing I'll just add is when we, and this is actually from the first couple of days, when we create safety in the office and create a sense of hope with that first session protocol, a sense of a little bit of commitment to the process, intentionality, really talking not just with the reaction, but with your real thoughts, and begin helping them to differentiate that this is me and this is you, and they really are two different people. And then also attuning to their partners and to themselves. We're also creating this opportunity to experience that this really is a reality that exists today, not something that you hope to gain someday, somewhere, but right in this present moment. As painful as things seem to be in the relationship, this also is present. So I'll pause there. And any thoughts or comments or questions?
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, to explain it like that, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, one thing that I do with this is when clients are talking about, when couples are talking about just really feeling stuck in a rut, sometimes I'll do that, a little diagram, maybe not this extensive, but I'll do a diagram of what Eros energy and Thanatos energy is. And just talk about how important it is to have routine. Children do far better when they have a regular, bedtime, regular meal times, time to study, time to play on the iPad, all those different things. We do better when we have a routine. So routine's important. And yet sometimes routine becomes so important that it begins to dominate. And that's when we feel stuck in a rut. So, I'll say to clients, what I would do sometimes just to break out of the routine is something just silly and crazy. Like throw the fire alarm or run through the house at 3 o'clock in the morning yelling, fire, 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 and wake everybody up and have them run out of the house. And as they're running out of the house, I would give them a can of whipped cream. And in the yard, we would have a big whipped cream fight at 3 o'clock in the morning. Only did that once, but it broke the routine. Or I would just, different things like that we would do. Becky and I, well, I guess it's been about 10 years ago now, maybe not quite that long ago. We spent a year, well, almost a year, planning and preparing. We hiked the Grand Canyon from the North Rim down into the canyon and then back up on the South Rim. And we spent 3 nights in the Grand Canyon. So we were primitive camping and backpacking, and you have to get backcountry permits and all of that, and so we spent almost a year, kind of planning that trip, and it was something very novel. We always said we were going to go back, but we never have yet,
Yeah.
But and we have our regular work schedules and routine and everything that we do. So finding that balance is what we're looking for. So this is not by itself inherently a bad thing, but when it tends to dominate our life and we put everything into boxes, well, that's what prejudice is, and our world's full of it now. It's all an effort to feel safe. And that's what, really, that's what prejudice is I want to put the other person in a box so I can have that sense that I'm safe. So I decide you're your friend and your foe without ever getting to know the person.
In the therapy that I'm trained in, whole body Gestalt, it makes so much sense, because when the boxes become too much, like rigid, that's what came up for me. Like, so it's good to have a routine, but then when you're rigid, then it interferes with being able to move into the eros or the full aliveness. So
yeah. I wish all of the the Gestalt, but also all of the body, yoga and some of those other Tai Chi, all of that. I wish I had more training in that, because it is so complementary to Imago and to this. And
they do, and I would you really do have training in it already by having training in that. It's so complementary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And rigidity is another way of not attuning to the person or to the present, but knowing based on my box. So if I know you and I got you in this box, I can only attune to my projection of you, and I can't attune to you because you're not whatever I think you are, nor am I what you think I am. I'm a mystery.
Great. So
that was kind of the diagram that we were working with the next couple of days. And we, Chris in particular, was really resonating with that, and we kept going back to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense now, because what you guys were talking about, now it's like coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're muted, Mary.
I was just going, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, any other questions or comments?
I'm sure there's a lot, right? I'm just wrapping my head around. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm getting ready. Next week, I'll be going up to Wisconsin, to Berlin. I'm doing one of the advanced trainings up there for some therapists. The Attuned Therapist is the name of it. We're going to focus 3 days on attuning to self and other. So I'm
Oh, yeah.
just about ready. Just looking forward to that. I'll be doing that next weekend.
That's great.
So
Yeah.
we're supposed to go to a what's called Kazapalooza, which is an event for families who've adopted from Kazakhstan, and it's in Frankenmuth. Is it Berlin?
Frankenmuth?
Yeah.
Is that not
That's
in Michigan?
the Bavarian Inn Lodge.
That's in Michigan?
Uh-huh.
I mean,
It just
that's
sounds like
Michigan.
it's the same area, Berlin, Germany.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is. Yeah, very much German.
Very German.
Yeah, Frankenmuth is a great town. We lived close to Frankenmuth. The Bavarian, yeah, it's a great place to eat. So you're going there, huh?
Well, I'm hoping to. It's a big trip because I can't decide whether I want to drive all that way or, take a flight and then go, by car. So
yeah, that's a long way.
It's a long way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But so what's good around there?
Yeah, if you like Christmas, make sure you go to Bronner's. Bronners. It's like the biggest Christmas store ever.
I was hoping to go to some parks up there someplace.
So,
National Park?
Yeah, just north of there, you're still kind of in the southern part of Michigan, but just north of there, I don't know of any parks. It's wilderness area that you can do some backpacking or hiking in. Just don't go during deer season. That's
okay.
There's a lot of shooting going on up there, but that's Frankenmuth. Those Bavarian inns, they do the family style dinners, where they bring the food out in big bowls.
Yeah.
And, it's all German Bavarian. Yeah.
So it's funny because it's a Kazakh celebration, but we're going to this German inn.
Yeah. It must be about as close as they can get, huh? Here in our country.
So I really appreciate you recording this for us because it's so helpful just to go back and watch it and look and and to see. So ultimately, it would be nice to have all your lectures that we can just rewatch.
Yeah.
I learned something from it every time. So
well, thank you. You're welcome. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'll email a link to you. It has to. It takes an hour or two to after the meeting, but I'll go ahead and email the link to you. And
awesome.
You'll have it. So we have a group consultation coming up soon. I'm not sure when that is, but seems like it's soon.
Let's see. It's a Friday, right?
I think so.
Isn't it before Memorial Day weekend? Let me see.
Before
I have June 8th, I think.
June 8th, did you say?
June.
Is that it?
Probably, yeah, that's what you have.
Yep, I have 8th too.
Okay.
I thought it was sooner than that, but
I think we decided we were going to, but couldn't find a time that worked before in May and decided just to wait till
that's right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, I'm going to see a couple here in about 5 minutes. And this is going to be our third session. So, and
Okay.
it really works with them. So I'm excited.
Great. Great.
Just to have this before it helps me get into the mind frame. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, enjoy your afternoon. And Mary, what do you have going on today?
Well, I'm supposed to meet up with Jill. Are you going to come over here about 2?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We might share office space.
Oh, okay. Great. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
that would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
should we plan for you to be here around 2? Do you know where to go?
I have the address.
Okay.
And then I can just call you when I get there.